John gets that leadership isn't about one individual. He gets that it's about building a diverse team, a team with different perspectives and with shared values. From the moment John was elected an MLA, he helped others in our caucus learn about their leadership skills. And I really saw that particularly after this difficult election in May. John reached out at a very low time for all of us. We came out of that election struggling, wondering what direction we were going to head, and went into a legislative session in July. And John reached out to new MLAs, to returning MLAs, and pulled us together as a team to serve the people that we were elected to serve. That is leadership. John understands that it's about building a diverse and sustainable economy with good jobs for all of British Columbia. And John gets that leadership isn't about empty slogans and words. That might be Christy Clark's way, but British Columbians deserve better. John gets that it's about holding the Liberals to account for failing British Columbia and making sure that British Columbians feel confident that New Democrats will be there to help them. So allow me, with great pride, to introduce the leader who gets it. The team builder who can bring together all of British Columbia. The fighter that the Liberals are most afraid of. The guy who makes us all proud to be New Democrats, who can inspire British Columbians with a vision for the future. Let me introduce my friend, our friend, John Horgan.
Go, Jody. Okay. No. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. This is fantastic. It's a great day to be Irish, I would think. Now, as you know, I'm colorblind, but I'm told that this is a delightful green tie I'm wearing tonight. So it was given to me by a very close friend who couldn't be here tonight, and I plan to wear it wherever I go and in memory of him. So this is for Ian Reid, is one of the people that I want to say thank you to. So I want to say thank you so much to Carole James, who took us from the darkest of times, from 2 seats to 33 seats, who brought us back from the abyss, as they would say, with dignity, with grace, and made everyone in British Columbia understand that everyone matters. And that was our slogan. It wasn't just an empty slogan like debt-free BC. It was a real slogan about how we feel as New Democrats, and Carole personifies that. So thank you very much, Carole. So I was in the middle of being slapped up the back of the head by Bill and Maureen. They were persistent. Bill came up to me one day last fall and said, you know, I got a call from my radio station saying that, are you going to run Mr. Routley to be leader of the NDP? And he said, no, I'm still backing John Horgan. So Bill's been there through thick and through thin. And my friend Maureen Karajanis, who, when the ridings were changed back in 2009, took me to Machosen days, because I only represented a small portion of Machosen. And she thought she'd do me a favor and introduce me to people. And we stopped at the Girl Scouts table, and Maureen said, I don't know if you've met John Horgan. He's the local MLA. And the woman probably said, that's not the local MLA, that's Ellie's husband. So, to Frank Mitchell, I tell this story a lot, but if you haven't heard it, it's worthwhile. And I know Kay's delighted that I'm going to tell it one more time. In 2005, I was just a name on the ballot here in Juan de Fuca. I was just an NDP candidate. And Frank Mitchell, who was elected in 1950, and then again in the 1970s, an outstanding career in law enforcement in Esquimalt, said, "I'll take you out to Port Renfrew and introduce you around, Mr. Horgan, if that's okay." And I said, "You bet, Frank, that would be fantastic." So a buddy and I got in a Volkswagen van, and we drove out Highway 14, and we arrived at the Pacheedaht First Nation. We pulled up to Butch's boathouse on the San Juan River. And he looked at us sideways, Butch did. He saw these two guys in a Volkswagen van, and then we opened up the back door, and there was Frank sitting there, and a big smile came on Butch's face, and he started to laugh, and he said, "Which one do you want me to vote for, Frank? That one or that one?" So that's why Juan de Fuca is NDP territory, because of the work of Frank Mitchell and Mo Sahota and Rick Casper and Jimmy Gorst and all of the people who have represented this area so very well for the NDP. But I know you came here to not hear old stories from an Irishman on St. Patrick's Day, as much fun as that will be. You came to hear me say, "My name's John Horgan, and I want to be leader of the BC NDP." So down you get. Come on now. So you're probably saying, "But John," as many of the media did today, "but John, didn't you have a different point of view not that long ago?" And I did. And that, for my point of view, for all of the right reasons. We had come through a very devastating election campaign. Although we were successful, myself, Maureen, Carole, Bill, and 34 New Democrat candidates, we did not form the government that we all expected to form. And it wasn't just New Democrats that were surprised by this. I can remember having a meeting with Mike DeYoung, who was the House leader for the government before the election, and he was loading up a box in his office. And then after the election, I met with him again as House leader, and he was unloading the box. And he said, "I didn't see that one coming." So as much as the mythology around the pollsters for Liberals are such that they had it pegged all along, I'm kind of thinking they didn't. And the challenge for us as New Democrats in the summer and in the fall and now into the spring is to reassess where we fit in the lives of British Columbians. And last fall, when the question was put to me by many people, "Are you going to run? You're going to run?" I thought I did not want to be an obstacle to change and renewal within the NDP. I've been a member of this party since 1983, but my values go much, much deeper than that, and they're very personal. I'm the son of an Irish immigrant. My father came from County Cork in the 1930s, as many immigrants come to this country and to this province to find a better life. He came with hope, he came with optimism, he came with a passion to a new country and a new way of life. He didn't make it to see this project to its conclusion. He died when I was just a toddler. But he left my mom with 2 teenage boys, I would argue raucous teenage boys, a 9-year-old daughter, and me. And so my values and my feelings about social democracy and about collective action go way, way back. We had neighbors, of course, who helped us out, and we had social assistance to get us through those difficult times. I was talking to my brother today up in Port McNeill, and he was reminding me of a story. When the church came with a basket full of food, my mom said, "Take it to the Simpsons, they need it more than we do." And it's that sense of community that my mom instilled in me so many, many years ago. And my sister is bawling her eyes out right now somewhere in this room. There she is. But were it not for her leaving me out on the doorstep buck naked at age 3, I don't think I would be as comfortable in front of crowds as I am now. So, but as much as I'm jesting, it was those core values that were instilled at me at a very, very early age, that I had an opportunity to do whatever I could do. I had an opportunity in British Columbia and in Canada to be whatever I wanted to be. And I had access to public institutions, public education, libraries, rec centers. I became a bit of a jock, I have to say. And I know Les Lane is here. I beat him on the baseline playing basketball many, many times. He'll deny that, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I became a jock and I became a team player. I learned the value of teamwork. I learned the value of sacrifice in public facilities, not at a cost to us because we had no money. I couldn't play hockey because it cost too much. I played soccer because it involved a pair of shoes and someone else's ball. And I was able to play basketball because it involved the shoes that I was wearing anyway and a different kind of ball. But it was public institutions, it was the sense of teamwork that instilled in me forever, the values that I learned as a young man in university were the values of the New Democratic Party. I met Tommy Douglas at a lecture at the end of his life and the beginning of my adulthood, and that wizened, small Scottish man instilled in me the notion that the values that my mom had instilled in me and my family were prevalent in a political party. And I thought to myself at that very moment, what a magical marrying of events is this? That you can take your values that you took from your childhood and instill them in your adult life, not only for your family and your community, but for the entire province. And so I stand before you today, not casually thinking about becoming the leader of the NDP, but with purpose and conviction, to be proud to be a New Democrat again, because the values we all share in this room and outside of this room are the core values of British Columbians. We need leadership. We need leadership in the political process that is proud of our public institutions, is proud of our public education system. I'm okay with private schools. I don't have a problem with private schools, but I have a big problem with cutting funding for adult literacy at a time when learning to read is the most important tool we can give anyone in this province. I have a problem with private health clinics when we have wait lists that go on and on and on in our public institutions. We need to be proud again to think of the state as something that doesn't stifle enterprise, it enables enterprise by having strong communities, strong families, and a society that cares for one another. We want prosperity. We want a thriving private sector economy. The Berlin Wall, I don't know if you missed this, but apparently it fell sometime in the late 1980s. So this notion of socialism and free enterprise are outdated concepts. We sometimes hold fast to those concepts for our own safety and our own comfort, but the reality of the new generation, the younger people that are coming into politics that have joined the NDP caucus, they don't look at the world that way. They look at environmental issues. They look at sustainability issues. How are we going to take the bounty we've been blessed with in British Columbia and sustain that not just for ourselves, but for those who come after us and those who come after them? That's what young New Democrats want, and that's what we need to do as well. And we can do that. We can do that by speaking to blue-collar workers. Bill Routley, in the 1980s, his workers in the IWA stumbled upon some of the most spectacular Douglas fir you will see anywhere on Vancouver Island, just north of here on the Coquille River. They had big X's on them. They were supposed to be cut down. And those IWA members said, I'm not going to cut those down. Those are spectacular. I'm going to leave them right where they are. Well, the company quickly called up the union leader, Mr. Routley, and said, your men aren't going to cut these trees down. What do you got to say about that? And he said, well, I guess we're not going to cut those trees down. And Bill started a discussion. Bill started a discussion with his trade union and with the company that had rights to that timber, and they struck an accord to protect those resources for all time. It didn't lose us any jobs at that point in time, although we've shed 35,000 jobs since 2001 in the forest sector. But in fact, it allowed us to proudly say there is a balance to be struck. We have to strike that balance. It's not a political expedience. It's an absolute necessity. If we're going to survive in British Columbia, if we're going to thrive and prosper and have the quality of life we have all become accustomed to, we need to exploit resources. But in so doing, we have to recognize, and industry and investment has to recognize, that we will have a rigorous regulatory process. You will have to pay your fair share of taxes. And although temporary foreign workers might be important for a couple of weeks, you got to train people, British Columbians and Canadians, to do those jobs. So how do we take this message and the excitement in this room and make it grow off of Vancouver Island into the Lower Mainland and into those areas of the province that did not select New Democrats to send to the legislature? What do we do in Prince George and Kamloops and Cranbrook, areas that have historically voted NDP, have historically been blue-collar communities? Why did they turn their back on us? They turned their back on us because we did not articulate a message of balance that had them in the equation. We said we want to protect and preserve, but we did not say we want to promote and enhance. And that's a matter of subtlety in this room, but it's a matter of practical reality when you have to feed your children and pay a mortgage. And if we are going to win an election in British Columbia, it is my solemn view, and the view I believe of most people in this room, that we have to grow the economy. Not willy-nilly, not recklessly, not for the few, but for all BC. We need to build British Columbia so that we all benefit. And we can do that. Mike Harcourt said in the 1990s, and I know you're not supposed to say 1990s if you're a New Democrat, I hear I'm diverting, and I know that they're going, oh dear, there he goes. There he goes. He's off somewhere. He's off somewhere. But in the 1990s, I was a young man. I was working for the government of British Columbia, and I was proud of the work that I was doing, and so was everyone else that was working for the province of British Columbia. I don't think they feel that way today. I don't think public sector workers are as comfortable with their place in society as they were in the 1990s. And I don't mean that as a cushy union job. I mean that they don't have confidence that the government that was elected to run this province cares a whit about public services. Here we go. I said to you earlier that it was public services that allowed me to stand here on this stage. The first child in my family to ever go to a university. The first child to ever aspire to political office. And the first child to ever say, I want to be the Premier of British Columbia. Now, I am not... Cheers. But the thing is that I'm not unique in this regard. Public services lift people up. They don't stifle growth. They don't stifle investment. They enable investors to know that they have a skilled workforce that is healthy and vibrant, has access to an outdoors that is unparalleled, to build a quality of life that is worth everything that we pay for it. I think investors understand that. If the BC Liberals had their way, the common denominator would be, how much profit can we get to the corporation? How many temporary foreign workers can we bring from offshore? And more importantly, how many resources can we extract with no benefit back to the Crown? If we are going to extract our resources, our metals, our mines, our gas, our oil, our trees, we need to have a return to all of us because it belongs, you've got it, to all of us. Now, this isn't going to be easy, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be very difficult. The BC Liberals have deep pockets, and they also like to spend your money promoting themselves. Last year, before the election, they were spending tens of millions of dollars telling you about their jobs plan. You might have seen a couple of those ads if you watch hockey games or anything else for that matter on television. They were almost consistent from the time you got up in the morning until the time you went to bed at night. That's the power of public money when you're spending it unwisely, as the Liberals did. And they told you, you might remember, that they were going to lead the country in job growth. They were going to do a great number of things to start training programs so that our children could have access to those jobs. Well, guess what happens? Lowest private sector job creation in the country. Dead last, behind Prince Edward Island. Bless them for growing what they do in Prince Edward Island. But that is outrageous, and you got fleeced for the privilege of letting them take your money away and tell you how great they are. That will not happen with the BC NDP under John Horgan's leadership. You work. I see a friend in the audience who lives down the road from me. He's 85 years old, and he gets up every morning and goes to work because that's just what he does. Ed Cooper is working to make dollars every single day. He doesn't waste them. We shouldn't waste them in the public purse as well. You guys know how hard it is to make a living in BC. You know how hard it is to make ends meet, with hydro rates going up, MSP premiums going up, ferry fares going up. The last thing you want from your government is an ad patting themselves on the back, telling them what good boys and girls they are. It will not happen. It cannot happen. That's why we need change in British Columbia. Real leadership is not putting debt-free BC on the side of your bus when you're increasing debt faster than any premier in the history of BC. Real leadership in BC is not empty slogans. It's not giving a pal a $140,000 a year job and then pulling it back because you got caught. Real leadership is setting practical goals with a plan to raise everyone, making BC for all British Columbians, not just a select few. That's why you came here tonight. That's why I'm so proud to be here in front of you today to say with one voice, enough is enough. In 2017, we need to change the government. We do that by having everyone in British Columbia have a stake in the NDP. Now, how do we do that? How do we get people excited as you are and I am tonight? There are people, I know this will surprise you, that don't really care too much about politics. I've said in the past that you wouldn't worry what people thought of you if you knew how seldomly they did, and it rings very true. But I think people do care. They do care about affordability. And they do care about integrity in government. And they do care about where their tax dollars go. So we need to fan out from this place tonight. We need to talk to people in every corner of this province. I believe I have the skills to do that. I have an aptitude for talking, one might say. And I was talking to Shirley Barrett over the weekend, the spectacular spouse of Dave Barrett. And Shirley just had one little bit of advice for me. And she just said, you know, just keep smiling at him, Horgan, because it drives him crazy. and that's exactly what I'm going to do on the Liberal side. But when I came to the conversion to stand before you tonight, it was not just New Democrats that were encouraging me to run for the leadership of the NDP. It was people that have never voted NDP in their lives because they want change as well. They want a government, a real government for all BC. That's not happening now. It won't happen until we rid ourselves of this bunch in 2017. To get there, I need to win the leadership on the 28th of September. To get there, I need you to help me. I need you to sign up your neighbors. I need you to get people to join the BC NDP so we all have a stake in change. We all have a stake in a new party to take on the BC Liberals in 2017. It's a long project. It starts today, ladies and gentlemen. It starts today, but we have a long, long way to go. With your help, I think we can do it. Thank you very much for coming. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Drive safely. Thank you.